Well, there's a bit of a myth at the moment. Agile is seen as a very sort of big area that people cover. It's what's called a broad church. But I would suggest 95% of it is actually just a set of techniques. Things like index cards, burn down charts. But really, if you want to get Agile to scale, and if you want to do it properly, you've got to wrap it in correct project management disciplines. So it doesn't matter whether it's PMI, Prince2, or what have you, or DSDM Atern, things like this. That actually gets the ability to run a much bigger scale of Agile. A lot of people mistake Agile, they think it's Agile, they think they're Agile, but really it's just a very small team with very good communication paths. And therefore, if you're trying to run a project with something like 100 people or 200, or you've got a large organisation, you're going to need to bring Agile in a much more structured way. And the way you'd normally do that is to identify there are about 3 layers to these Agile projects. The first layer is this delivery layer, which is where a lot of Agile is happening. But there's a layer above that, which is project management, and a layer above that, which is about governance. And this is where traditional approaches like Prince2 can help. The problem with Prince2, it's a little bit like a perception. It's seen as being a bit traditional. It's seen as being waterfall. That's not strictly true, but actually, perception is reality, if you like. And therefore, it's trying to get the best bits of Prince, the structure, the rigor, things like management by exception, but to put them in such a way that when it's working at the lower level, the empowered teams can get on with what they're actually trying to do, and they can be agile at the sort of coal face, but they're nicely sealed off into sort of safe areas that are being coordinated at the layers above. So it is a bit like oil and water when you mix, say, something like Prince and Agile, because a lot of Agile is quite anti-management. It's seen as very sort of reactionary. It's often referred to as the Agilistas. But you can actually get these two to gel if you understand the cultural aspects, really. That's why some people put something like perhaps DSDM Atern in between, because it's a lot softer. And this has actually driven the new qualification called Agile Project Manager, which is being independently accredited by APMG. Right, there is no difference between DSDM and DSDM Atern. DSDM Atern is actually the current version of DSDM. DSDM has been around since 1995 when it was known as Dynamic Systems Development Method. Very much an IT method then. It went to version 2, version 3. Earlier, sort of 2002, it was version 4. And then a review was done of the whole method. And for my sins, I led the team, and it was a large team that actually did that. And it took about 15 months, and what we created was a generic Agile project management method, not IT specific, and brought it up to date to the sort of current language. And the marketeers told us we had to come up with a better name than DSDM5. So we engaged the marketeers, and we tried to come up with a word that symbolised something natural, collaborative, and that ended up with us focusing on a bird called the Arctic tern. And this was then shortened to Atern or Atern or Atern. We didn't know it was going to get pronounced 3 different ways, but that's actually where the name has come from. I wouldn't go too much further than that in terms of its intrinsic meaning, but that is what DSDM Atern, that's where it gets its name from. And I've been told that the Arctic tern has only just recently got in the Guinness Book of Records, because one particular Arctic tern has flown 1 million miles. So, useless thought for the day. First off, it can if you do it right, because what it's aiming to do is deliver on time without playing with resources and without compromising quality, but by aiming at managing the feature set or managing scope. And there's a bit more to it than that, but that is what it's trying to do. So quite simply, if you deliver a 95% solution on time that's been well built, well designed, well tested, that is the whole crux of Agile. It's just whether the customer or the wider organisations, whether they just get that point. Perfection or everything takes a lot longer. You then get your overruns, you then get inefficient ways of working towards the end of the projects. Whereas if you just go for a drop-dead deadline, it causes or creates focus, and it's just a smarter way of working. Well, it's a particular interest to the public sector because with all the freezes and costs being capped and even reduced, the public sector need to get more for less, and it's a very easy thing to say, but it'd be much better to deliver 9 projects well than 10 projects badly, and using Agile without the overruns, without the inefficiencies, you then get people sort of delivering more for the same amount of money. There's a slight sting in the tail that really the public sector therefore need to invest in Agile to get that, but I'll leave that to the public sector to sort that out.